Everyone, this is Desio. I'm a French graffiti artist in Shanghai, and here's the process of my latest piece. I start as usual by placing my power lines, and then sketching out the letters. For those who don't know what I mean by power lines, it's like placing the spline of the letters and using them as guides to place the individual strokes, bars, and connections that make up each letter. You can think of it as making a big tag and then fattening out the lines, but it's not exactly like a tag, but it's kind of similar principle as making the letters. It's a quick way of making sure the piece will fit and have flow and continuity, as well as working on the overall rhythm of the piece. So once I was happy with the sketch, I laid down the base coat of paint, both inside and in the background. I went for quite a simple classic piece today, without too much extensions or cuts. I had in mind something I wanted to try out and thought it would be better to keep the letters simple, at least on the first try, to see if this idea could work well, which I'm actually quite happy about it, even if I'm really happy I decided to do something simple. So I have yellow for the fill and blue for the background. Luckily, I also brought some white to use as an undercoat for the yellow, as yellow covers really badly. While it dries, I take the time to fill in the background with the blue and then go back over the white with the yellow. I usually prefer painting the background first with a solid color before painting the whole sketch, but I was afraid I wouldn't have enough of blue to cover the whole entire piece, and also time-wise. So I've been working on this idea for a while, and today was a perfect day to test it out. The forecast announced that it would be raining all day, which it did, so everyone bailed on me. However, I made a bet that this spot had enough protection from the rain, and I'm glad I did it, as I stayed mostly dry the whole day. And overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I decided to go with an underwater theme. I thought it'd be cool to paint the graffiti as if it were underwater, with the reflections of the graffiti coming from the top. I go about placing the outline, followed by the 3D. To give it some interesting volumes, I decided I'd twist my letters around and have the 3D go in different directions, catching the light in different angles. This way, some 3Ds would be light and other 3Ds would be dark. Now comes the tricky part, painting the underwater reflection. You need to imagine the piece as if it were flipped upside down and deformed by the undulation of the waves. So the top of the letters are the first things reflected, and the bottom goes to the very top. The closer the reflection is to the piece, the more it gets transformed. The difficulty here is also to think of making the deformations logical, or seem logical. This part turned out to be way more complicated than I initially thought. I should have made a detailed sketch before I go to the wall. Little by little, things started to click, but it was a rough start, and I spent quite a long time trying to figure this part out. I got back to finishing the 3D before working on the top reflection, as this would impact quite a bit. I decided on peach and brown, but stretched that combo to go from extremely dark to very light, and worked out the reflections from that point. The light source is coming from the top through the water, so my lights are wherever it is pointing up. Then it goes from light to dark in an S shape, as in the lighter mid-tone on the left, the darker mid-tone on the right, and whatever is facing down or in the corners goes black. So once that is mostly done, I go on to work on the reflections. I sped it up quite a lot for you guys, as I ended up spending a lot of time on this part, trying to understand and remember how it should look and how the waves go from light to dark, almost as if they were inverted, like light, dark, light on the edges, with like other reflections. And my skinny caps were mostly clogged at this point due to the outline can that I had, so all I had was a normal banana yellow cap, which isn't great for fine detail, so I had to really work on it, trying to get the thin lines in the right place. I was really frustrated throughout the process. Next time I'm going to try and bring references with me instead of winging it, like you say. bubbles, some light refraction from the water, the whole time taking a step back every time to make sure it looked like it was actually reflecting off the water and going back and forth with the details. In the end, I decided I'd add some seaweed in the back, as it was looking too empty. I had actually initially refused. I wanted this piece to be just about the graffiti without any extra character ornaments such as fish, shells, or seaweed. But I can't. I couldn't figure out what I should do to make it pop a bit more and not look empty. I mean, if you guys have any thoughts or ideas on the matter, on what you guys would have done to make it like add details in the background but without it being figurative, leave a comment below on what you think could have worked, and I'll be sure to have a look. The idea is really not to create too much of a distraction from the piece, as the reflection is supposed to be the star of the show. Overall, I'm really happy with how this piece turned out. It was a lot of work, but I think it was worth it. I hope you all enjoyed watching me paint this piece as much as I enjoyed creating it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.